passion, at least to begin with, goes a long way. Sometimes, as long as you're one step ahead of your audience, I kind of feel like this often as a teacher. In one sense, you can be the authority.
And usually there's frustration there too. There's this other creator over here with 10 times the amount of subscribers as me, but like their information's so surface level. Like, what's the deal? I should be much, much further ahead. Like, how do you become the authority in that niche?
You don't necessarily have to be the authority in your niche. And I feel like the creators that lean into their passion, their expertise, as well as learning how to connect, that's going to help you get there a lot faster.
Shorts provide such a great, easy rep to just get some practice.
Hey, welcome to the Video Creators Podcast presented by vidIQ. You know how you put a lot of time and energy into your YouTube channel for not nearly enough growth? Yep, we get it. We are here today to help you change that.
Hello creators, how are you guys? Welcome back to another Video Creators Podcast brought to you by vidIQ, like we do every Monday for you. And today we've got a bit of a special treat for you, and that is a live in-person podcast from our time at VidSummit together. So this time we got to talk to the one and only Rob Wilson from vidIQ and just talk about becoming an authority in your space on YouTube. What does that look like? What does it take as a creator? What are some of the steps that you need to take to get there? So all of that and more coming right up. Well, this is exciting.
It is exciting.
I think for two reasons. One is we've got Rob joining us on the podcast once again.
Thanks for flying me out at great expense for this one thing that we're doing.
Yes. But
Allegedly.
maybe slightly more exciting is we're all in person.
Yes.
Yeah, this is weird.
For the first time.
First time.
Is that right? The first ever
ever seeing each
Video
other.
Creators / vidIQ
Yeah.
in-person podcast.
I was saying it felt like a blind date a little bit. Like I've talked to these people before, but never in a 3D. So very exciting. But what's more exciting is tonight we're kicking off VidSummit.
Oh, that's the other thing we're doing.
That's the other thing. We didn't just come to shoot this podcast today.
Yes.
So I'm pumped. What are you guys looking forward to for VidSummit?
So for me personally, I've been out of the conference game for 4 years because of COVID. So just getting back into this space, meeting people. vidIQ didn't quite have a footprint it had then that it does now. So I'm curious to know if anybody recognizes me. Now, everybody says, Rob, you're going to be swamped. I don't know if I'm prepared for that. So if you can help just chaperone me. I need a safe word. Like if I just say
safe word,
like and subscribe, then just like all the vidIQ
an army of us
help me.
swoops in.
I'm pretty sure the rest of the coaches already said they want to walk around and use bodyguards. So
I think we should do that and find Mr. Beast and sort of like
That
usher
would be
him
fun.
away as I'm
Yeah.
walking past.
Rob Wilson's walking through. Yeah.
That's amazing. What about you guys?
I don't know. This is my first time doing VidSummit. I have no expectations, but I've heard a lot of good things. So I think, I was telling you guys earlier, I just want to network. I want to meet some more creators, kind of learn from people. But being so introverted, I need some buddies to help me do so.
All right, so we need another safe word, is what you're saying.
Yeah. I don't know what the safe word would be. It's like if they get awkward, and be like, I don't know.
Blake will just go silent, so he won't be able to say his safe
I
word.
just smile and nod, and then things just feel weird, and they walk away normally.
The smile and nod will swoop in.
Yeah, for me, this is my third time here, so I'm excited to reconnect with old friends that I've met over the last couple years, meet a bunch of new creators and new people in the industry, as well as just listen to all the latest that's going on. Really excited about that.
Yeah, I was going to
hang with you guys.
Yeah, well, of course, hanging with you guys. But since this is my first time too, I don't know what historically, if they do announce a lot of new things or just kind of what we're going to walk away with. But I'm equally as excited to just meet a lot of other creators because there's going to be so many creators here.
Yeah.
But then also to just learn and see kind of what new trends are happening and walk away with some more knowledge. Yeah. It's going to be great.
Is there a creator in the last 12 months who's come to prominence that you weren't aware of this time last year and now, oh wow, they're at VidSummit and I really want to meet them and find out more about them?
Michelle Carre.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's really good to see.
Yeah. She's been doing some amazing things this year, and I just am really excited. She's one of the keynote speakers, so I'm really excited to just hear from her perspective, just live.
Yeah, and she just won a Streamy too for best show.
That was the boxing.
Yes.
It was between her and the Wing show. What's it called?
Hot Ones?
Hot Ones.
Hot
That's,
Ones.
that's it.
Whatever the
Hot
Hot
Ones.
Ones.
Sweet Feast.
So it's
Yeah.
between the two. So that's then she won the award over that. So yeah, it'd be cool to see her.
Yeah.
Very cinematic. I think she pushed herself with that one, especially too, out of the normal what you see on YouTube. So that's why I was kind of like happy to see something that different do so well and then win an award too. So
Yeah. I think for me, I mean, I think it's maybe been over 12 months, but obviously Ryan Trahan. Penny Series is when I discovered him, which I think was a little bit over a year ago. So I think him, but if I were to think of somebody else, I can't remember his last name, John, like Yeshua or something like that. Yushay.
Yeah.
He's doing a keynote, I think, as well.
Yes.
And he's got really, really cool stuff.
Titles and thumbnails.
Just really, diving into more strategy. I think that'll be cool
Yeah.
to learn from him. So,
Yeah.
But I think something I really just want to talk about today, as we're about to step into this ginormous conference with a ton of creators, it's kind of a question that we get a lot as far as how do I become an authority in my niche? And I've just been thinking about it more, and I've been getting this question a lot recently too, as far as, YouTube is just continuing to get more and more saturated, and there's only so many niches. And so as there's more creators kind of need to step up their game to really become an authority in the space. So I kind of just wanted to start a conversation, maybe just even starting with what does it really mean to be an authority in your niche? What would you guys say?
Okay, I'll try and kick this off. And this is going to come somewhat from a personal journey and opinion. I think passion, at least to begin with, goes a long way because you're just ready to throw yourself into learning about the topic, the history, and sometimes, as long as you're one step ahead of your audience, I kind of feel like this often as a teacher. If you're one step ahead of your audience, you're the teacher. And in one sense, you can be the authority. But that obviously depends on your target audience, because I feel as if with vidIQ, we have a certain target audience, which is, we're welcoming creators into the struggle. We want to try and get you to 1,000 subscribers, monetization.
Right.
And then, as we grow as a company, there's more of a natural handoff to one-on-one coaching or vidIQ Max. So, just start off a conversation. I think passion can carry you into creating content. And then as you build an audience, if you always have a thirst for the passion of a topic, you instinctively want to learn as well. And that builds, I guess, an authority and credentials within that topic. But I'd love to hear what you think about whether that you feel the same way about that.
Yeah, I feel like, at least for me, I feel like there's kind of a blend of, because I think the target audience really does come into play here too, as far as like viewers nowadays are they're so empowered on the platform of YouTube. It's not passive like TV where you just turn it on and hopefully there's something that kind of caters to what you want to watch. Like viewers nowadays, and there's all kinds of studies that we've been talking about as a team pretty recently as far as kind of like viewer agency. Like viewers are very comfortable and acclimated to YouTube as far as picking and choosing who they resonate with. So I think you can have an authority that is maybe even just a few steps ahead of where the viewer is at, but they really resonate. Maybe they have a deeper why or a good value proposition, or there's something there that they resonate with. But I think on the other side of the coin, and this is probably what I hear more from creators that we work with, is, there's a very intelligent creator that has just a wealth of knowledge. They just don't know how to package it in YouTube terms. So, and usually there's frustration there too. And I'm sure you guys have gotten this as well, where, there's this other creator over here with 10 times the amount of subscribers as me, but like their information's so surface level. Like, what's the deal? I should be much, much further ahead. And so maybe even from that sense, like the bigger channels in a particular niche, you could see those as a broader kind of authority as well. Like how do you become the authority in that niche?
It's funny because you're saying the authority, but I think the first step is really just becoming an authority, right? You don't necessarily have to be the authority in your niche. And I feel like the creators that lean into their passion, their expertise, as well as learning how to connect with people, that's going to help you get there a lot faster, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, I mean, I do feel like with the amount of, like, there's almost like sub niches that are being created too. So that's a really good point. You don't necessarily, there's not one spot to become the authority. And if you're not filling that spot, you're not an authority. I think there definitely can be some like steps and elevation to that too. But maybe one question I do have, like, while we have you today, Rob, and you even just said when we started this, like 2019, 2020 vidIQ was very different to kind of where we're at now. I would be curious to just hear, like, journey-wise, becoming more of an authority in the YouTube education space. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, good question. I almost want to challenge the word authority.
Interesting.
Along with the word guru or expert.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you
What's
to say
it like
that.
to be a guru?
Because people have called me that, and I always kind of twinge and whatnot when I hear that, because I like to consider myself a passionate educator with knowledge and wisdom to share. And over time, we've built an audience to do that. But if I was to give you a point at which I thought maybe I do have some authority, it was actually when I first had a connection with vidIQ. I made a video about one of vidIQ's tools, which is how to copy tags. And within 24 hours of me making that video, Rob Sandy, the CEO, had contacted me, and he wanted me to do freelance work. So that's like a really big boost of confidence that somebody who's already in the YouTube industry, so to speak,
right,
feels as if my content might be worth sharing on his channel. But then what solidified that was we got down to business straight away, and he said, so how much would you charge for me to make these videos? And I had no idea how to value myself on YouTube. But, I'm used to getting $3 for 1,000 views. So let's say $25 an hour. And Rob said, no, you're undervaluing yourself there. We're gonna start at $45 an hour. So to have that point of validation so early on, I was like, oh, that's such a big boost. I mean, obviously, it was a huge journey from beyond that point, but at least somebody had faith in me to start creating content on an educational point of view. But there was still a long journey beyond that, and I can't remember what the original question was, Sam, but that's where I've ended up.
Well,
with that answer.
I was going to ask you, like, have you felt pressure in terms of being considered an authority?
Weirdly, no. Up until, I would say, the last 6 to 12 months.
Interesting.
When it went from just myself and Dan, my co-creator, we were very siloed, and we were just making content, and our heads were in the sand, like just make content. We haven't got time to do anything else. Then we start to build out a team. We've got an editor, a script writer. I don't know what you call it, Lexi, just like genius, like content strategist.
Good word for it.
Now we have all of these new ideas coming in. But also at the same time, I've noticed since ChatGPT and AI, I feel as if there's a new generation of YouTube educators. I feel as if we look at, Tim's off screen here, you can't see him pointing into a distance, but Tim and Daryl Lees were kind of like the first generation YouTube educators, I would say. Yeah. And maybe I was second or third generation, and you think of Nick and Nimman would be another one, and I think of like channel makers, and might have been like a third or fourth generation. Now there's these new faceless channels that have these, I tried YouTube Shorts for 100 days and this what's happened. Yeah. I'm seeing all of these new type of channels come up, and they're really well put together. Like, I sense these creators have had channels before, now they're getting into the YouTube education space, and they're really tightly scripted. I feel like a pressure now. I feel real competition. I think to myself, if I started a channel today as a YouTube educator, would I be able to grow to a similar success as vidIQ? And the typical critical me says, I don't know if I would be able to do it these days. I feel as if like first mover's advantage is what helps me with vidIQ.
Interesting.
It's interesting because I look at like some of the smaller channels that you're talking about that aren't necessarily faceless, but there are a lot of all of a sudden new strategy channels. Yeah. And they're like 12,000 subscribers, and they're putting out really great content because they've had people who've walked the path before that are the authority in the space. But I feel like there is a little pressure because their stuff is really good.
Yeah.
it is. Yeah,
It's really good.
One recent one is April Lynn. I don't know if you've seen. She made a video recently about how to create a perfect hook.
Oh,
Real pressure
yeah.
on
I think
her.
I saw
to make a
that.
perfect
I saw
hook in
that.
video. It was an incredible video. I think she's coming to VidSummit. So
Okay.
I'd like to connect with her and gee, I don't know if I would ever be able to create content like that.
Well, I feel like what we're
really
hitting
powerful.
on is interesting. Like, I'd love to try to quantify, because both of you said, some of these videos coming out are really good. Like, what does that mean if it's really good?
There's connection, and I mean, they're holding me. Some are like 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
And they're holding me to the end.
Wow.
So to be a brand new person in the space that has a lot of big voices in it, it's not like this content's really new. So it's interesting to me that I'm like so captivated from beginning to end. And I think that's somewhat hard to do. I think there's just a different level of entry level YouTubers coming in.
Would you say it's kind of a blend of the, if it's crafting a hook, or if it's, the value or the information is being transmitted well, but as far as YouTube packaging, like if it's a long video and they're holding you to the end, like it is crafted specifically for YouTube very well. There's kind of like those two things coming together.
Rob and Tim and all of us, we've done a good job of educating people on packaging.
Yeah.
Right.
So I feel like they don't have that barrier that we all had coming into it. They were able to figure that part out a little bit faster, and they've been creating movies their whole lives.
Yeah.
It's a little different.
Yeah, my first YouTube video was how old was it? Do I want to reveal my age here? Let's put it this way. I remember a significant amount of time without the internet, and then I didn't publish my first video until I was the wrong side of 30, I think.
Was that the one you did your reaction to on the channel?
No, that was the first vidIQ video.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, in front of camera.
Okay.
So I'd had some experience by then, but my first YouTube video was in front of camera was probably 2012.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes me think now, 2012 to now, 2023, over a decade, do you feel like some of the tactics and things that I guess would help you to grow to be an authority, a guru in the space, the niche that you're in, has that evolved or changed over time?
Significantly. There's just so much choice now. Going back to...
Yeah.
If you searched for how to get more views and subscribers, you would find Daryl Alderton, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then a few more. You probably increase with maybe a dozen educators. I would say there's hundreds of different YouTube educators, probably focused on different niches. There's like how to grow a gaming channel specifically. So I just think choice and wealth of knowledge and like outside of YouTube courses and things that are available now is just completely different.
Yeah.
Do you feel like any of these newer channels are pointing out things strategy-wise that you haven't thought about before or seen before?
Sorry, repeat the question?
Yeah. Are you from looking at these new channels that have come up that you've seen, do you feel like they're now noticing or seeing things different strategy-wise that you may not have noticed?
I think so, yeah. I feel as if I'm stuck in a previous generation of YouTube education right now, which is... I don't want to say I consider these new educators a threat, because I think it's brilliant that anybody who can bring positive, constructive discourse to YouTube education just benefits everybody. But I feel as if I have heavy boots and I'm stuck in the sand, and if I want to change and pivot, I've almost got to unlearn the previous style of education.
Right.
You think about the TV programs you watched in the 1980s or 90s. I feel as if I'm back in the previous millennium almost of YouTube content in one sense.
I feel like this is a common trap that authorities in their space go through.
Yeah, absolutely.
New crop of people coming up, or the new latest trends, or whatever it is in business that comes out. So what is that fresh perspective, that unique thing? And I think sometimes it can be refreshing, actually, from having, been the person in a space and then just saying, well, maybe it'll invigorate passion even more. Not saying that passion has gone away, but it can get a little stale, I think, sometimes.
Yeah. I would even add too, like we talk about a value proposition a lot, or like having a deeper why. And I think, there are some creators that feel like they need to, like they have paralysis in deciding what that's going to be, because I think there's another trap that's like, I could never change that. Like once I commit and say that this is my why for the channel, and I run with that for a decade, I can't change that. But like in reality, you have, at some point you need to, whether it is like YouTube as a platform is changing, and so strategies are going to change, and that may require some more of a what level pivot too. But I think also with kind of a deeper why, that's just as important or more important. If you're going to remain an authority in your space and continue to grow and reach more people, if it's the landscape is changing, like you have to be open to that as well.
Nothing's so fragile it can't be changed.
Exactly. Yep. I say it all the time.
I think when I would use the term authority is if YouTube's recommendation system considers you an authority. And I don't just mean, because we've been talking about YouTube education so far. So we've been talking about utility channels, maybe search-based channels. I think this can spread out to all sorts of creators of all types of topics.
Absolutely.
Entertainment, sport, business, and so on. And then that's when I do try to consider what is a creator a particular authority on in YouTube's mind. Because we still have blind spots. VidIQ, like we struggle with music channels. We've never been able to figure out how to help music channels. A lot of the team at VidIQ don't have really much business acumen, because instead of building our own channels, we've joined VidIQ. And so I'm happy to be vulnerable and honest and say in some aspects, we're not on authority on YouTube education as a whole, but on particular areas. But yeah, I'm trying to move the conversation beyond like just talk about YouTube education, which I think is where we started with. Do you think that the perceived algorithm, so to speak, needs time to identify authorities in particular YouTube categories? Or do you think now with the rise of Shorts and TikTok, there is more of an encouragement to find new channels and create new authorities?
That's a great question. I feel like time does lend itself to helping establish an authority for sure. I don't see that as being very different, because that's just more and more data.
That's true.
Right? Yeah. It's more data, and it's more feedback that the algorithm has received on various videos to really understand how one video relates to another and who the intended audience really is. That will click in and watch. But it is an interesting question, though, because Shorts has changed a lot, I feel. I wonder if it's getting it faster through Shorts, because but if you really think about it, they're also just putting out so many more data points. So it's probably the same. They're just getting there faster.
But how valuable is that data, though, being something so short form?
Well, still understanding who likes it.
That's fair.
I don't see it really being any different.
Okay. The thing with Shorts that's interesting to me is, like, we know that kind of the search and discovery systems operate the same way, but Shorts have such a wider breadth of experimentation.
A little bit broader.
For the Shorts, average Shorts viewer who jumps on, they're going to experience way more new creators in their feed. And we also know there's, it's not all Shorts viewers, but most Shorts viewers only watch Shorts. And, they're trying to build that bridge a bit more right now too. So it's interesting thinking about kind of becoming an authority, even as just a Shorts creator or a creator that has Shorts and long form. I kind of agree. I think even if you have some sort of a short strategy, it does kind of just offer more hooks in the water, just more data points for you
more practice.
You can get more reps.
Yeah. And even from a creation perspective too, thinking of a newer channel or a channel that has a ton of a wealth of knowledge, but not a wealth of knowledge when it comes to packaging for YouTube. Shorts provides such a great, easy rep to just get some practice.
Well, it's interesting because I just watched on the flight over here, actually, I downloaded the editing podcast that they did with Dodford, and who just blew up out of nowhere. And everybody's like, how is this content so good right away? I mean, he's already got 140, 160,000 subscribers. He literally a couple months ago only had like 2,000 subscribers. But he got his reps in on TikTok.
Yeah.
Doing vertical, and he makes the complete opposite content, really long, in-depth, almost docu-style kind of videos now. So he made the transition from TikTok shorts, I'll call it shorts for lack of a better word, to long-form content. But that's how he learned how to engage the audience, how to hook the audience, how to get them from front to back, and really develop that style so that he could then take what he learned there and apply it in a different format, long form. It's one of the most successful stories, I feel, from going from short to long.
Yeah, that's
most really fascinating.
Most people I hear, it's that transition. I'm doing shorts really well, but I cannot get it to do it in long form. So.
And he's really kind of the authority in that little space right now because everybody else is copying him exactly because he's figured it out.
What are some things he's doing that's making him so successful?
Well, he really was able to figure out how to hold somebody's, from front to back, and he's not in it, which is fascinating.
Oh, interesting.
It's mostly clips.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Very little bit of his voiceover. It's actually a lot of the original audio. So he tells a story. It's all storytelling. It's all basic same principles, right?
Yeah.
A lot of storytelling, and he's not classically taught in any way on storytelling either, which is fascinating. Yeah, we'll have to link the podcast because it was really detailed and in depth. It was fascinating.
Even packaging wise too.
Packaging, he's been different. He had a fresh, unique voice.
Yeah.
When you think about it,
yeah.
You think of his thumbnails, and they're intriguing, and the titles are curious, and that's kind of where he learned a lot of that intrigue and curiosity.
So, would we label Dodford an authority on a topic or a talent or craft or skill?
That's a good question. I think it's on a style of content in his niche.
Yeah. Because
he came in with a unique perspective on something that was really kind of underserved and was able to kind of dominate that. I mean, to the fact where his videos have millions of views.
Yeah. I feel like that's like really key. Like I feel like if a listener is maybe trying to pick out some practical advice as far as I'm just trying to grow my channel, like how do I separate myself in a saturated market? How do I stand out to grow and maybe become more recognized in your niche? I feel like something like that is really important. I kind of lost my train of thought. I had something good that I was going to say.
I had something to add too. Just a thought too of like, does that mean, because we're talking about Dodford doing so well, but one thing I'm worried about some of the people listening is like, do I have to have a lot of subscribers in order to be that authority?
Yeah, that was, I was basically going to say, like, I think it's really cool the way that YouTube works because it's not going to just look at a channel and take into account like, well, this channel has, 100K subscribers. So they're just going to remain the authority,
right?
And small channels don't have an opportunity. Like truly, if you can have a different perspective, package it well, you have all the opportunity to grow. Like YouTube will surface the best content more. So
I have a recent example of a channel which became the authority almost by default by doing market research. So it was a gaming channel, and they enjoyed watching, I'll describe them as epic video game documentaries. So this might be like the making of Super Mario World. We've all heard of that. The making of Street Fighter 2. Those types of videos had 1 million views, 100,000 views. But his particular interest was in 1990s space simulators. It's a little more niche, but we're talking about Wing Commander, TIE Fighter,
I watched your video.
we did,
I watched your video on the plane right over too.
So what he did is he wanted us to find this content. He couldn't find it on YouTube, so he said, I'm going to fill this gap. And so the very first video he made was a 2-hour documentary on a well-known space simulator game, but not super popular. I think when you look at Wikipedia, the sales of it were like 200,000 copies.
Yeah.
So not much. The video didn't really do anything for about, I'd say, 80 days. But every time somebody watched it, average view duration was 20 minutes, 40 minutes, sometimes 1 hour.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, YouTube found the audience, and he got 100,000 views within the space of 2 weeks. Now he's leaned into it. He's just released his second video, which is on X-Wing, so a more popular space simulator game. It's now 3 hours long instead of 2 hours long. And within 2 weeks, it's got about 80,000 views.
Wow.
So the recommendation system has said, all of these people who watch this video, as soon as this creator, whether the viewer is subscribed to them or not, we're going to show that video to those viewers. I'm like, so he's now, as I say, the de facto authority, whether he chose to be or not. It's now a decision on whether he continues to make that content over a long period of time, or other creators see that same gap in the market and try to capitalize on it.
It's fascinating.
And the channel is, if you're interested, listener, is Space Cadet Rewind. First video, 100,000 views.
Wow.
In a game, gaming topic, which is
that's
a rare find.
It's so interesting because my mind is going to two different places. Like, when we talk about the quantity over quality, and I would even tie in like the length of a video. Like for a relatively newer creator, we'd probably recommend, just assuming maybe they don't have the muscle built yet to tell good stories and hold someone's attention well, maybe you should start with like shorter, like smaller videos. So to just jump
2 hours.
straight into 2 hours. But I think that's where like the topic also comes into play too.
Absolutely.
If you can see where that gap is, and there's nothing like that on YouTube right now, you can probably get away with longer. And again, it's not just for the sake of making a longer piece of content, but you can really serve that space well, maybe pun intended, since we're talking about space content right now. But
and the gap between the content is quite interesting as well. I think it's maybe 3 or 4 months between the first video and the second video.
Oh, wow.
Because
That's actually a long time.
Yeah.
Because his content is irreplaceable, you can't find the content anywhere else. It's similar to like Mark Rober, Mr. Beast. You have permission to take that extra bit of time to make the content how you want it to. But you have, I guess you have to have that USP to do that.
But it really does prove that YouTube really is about surfacing the right video for the right person at the right time. Right. Yeah.
And it's also interesting as I'm reading the comments of the latest video, which is 3 hours long, people saying, I'm bookmarking this, I'm watching it in segments, it's like a box set, and I'm doing exactly the same thing with it.
Yeah. I think that's smart for the creator, though, to capitalize on the first video and kind of what worked there and make kind of a similar video. I think there's a lot of evidence that we've seen.
There's a lot of evidence to that.
With creators where they have a huge hit.
Yeah, usually comes in pairs or threes.
Well, there's even some blind spots sometimes as far as, they have a hit, then they just keep making whatever they want to make. And then, a year later, they come to us and they're like, why did this one do well? Yeah. And we're kind of like, did you ever try to recreate it? Or like, what can you recognize from that video that did well and try to do that again? And even that, capitalizing on like what was good about this? How do we try that again? That can absolutely help too.
And I think when you do that, there comes a point where you've built up an audience that you have the permission from the audience and the creative license to maybe do something a little bit different. So we're talking again about this space simulator channel. If they do another 3 or 4 of these epic documentaries, I think they'll build up enough of an audience to say, okay, well, I don't want to do space simulators anymore. I'm going to do like a platformer or a soccer game or whatever. And I feel as if the audience would follow the creator at that point as opposed to the topic. So then it's not you're not an authority on a topic. The creator is an authority as themselves.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about, because you can only make videos on the same topic so many times.
I don't know, I'm trying. I'm 1,500 videos into this experiment.
But I would even say
1.5 million, 1.6 million.
I would say for VidIQ, like, it's what happens is there's a relationship that begins to be formed. And that's what's different, when you compare YouTube to something like Google, and it's like you can just Google search, find the information you're looking for. There's no pictures. There's no humans there to connect with. You go in and you go out. But with YouTube, you are really going to create a connection with the viewers where at that point, when you decide, I don't want to do space games anymore, I'm going to go do this type of game, or, we were talking about pivots earlier too, you get to the point where you're ready to kind of revamp your why and why you do what you do. Your creators, ideally, are going to have some sort of connection and feel like they know you and trust you and like you, where you're kind of allowed that variance, because if that's completely missing, the videos are probably not going to do well. If people came for space and that was it, and then they left, and there was no storytelling or no connection built, that can be a lot tougher too.
What about when the very nature of a channel doesn't allow them to become like a specific authority? So I'm thinking like an entertainment channel or a news channel where the news dictates the content, or the trending stories and the celebrities dictate the content. Like, for example, let's say the Johnny Depp saga last year was a boon for a lot, or Squid Game. We were able to jump onto that trend, but like, where do I go after this? What's the solution? I'm not an authority. I guess I'm surfing on an authority wave, so to speak.
Yeah, I would say, is it based around the attention and the views you get, or is it based around the community you build that makes you an authority, right? Because, same idea. I can go and figure out how to get a ton of views, but if it's people aren't sticking around and trusting me to wherever I go next, am I even considered an authority there? Because there are all different sizes of authorities. I can have a channel that's got 10,000 subscribers, and you can be an authority from a dedicated fan base and that sort of way. But we're basing it solely on views, and that's when we fall into that trap, right?
I feel like what's key there, because that's a topic, even though it's a trend, it's a topic. So when that's going on, really establishing that connection so that if you are more than just the topic, I think is going to be the key there. You may be considered an authority around that one trend or topic, but establishing that why somebody should keep watching or explore for more, take advantage, call to actions, dip into something else outside of that even, that you're not a one note on that, I think is going to be key.
Yeah, it's like even music artists. Like, you can have a one-hit wonder.
Oh, yeah, it's a good example.
You can have like an artist that earns your trust over decades with different albums. They change things, but they've earned the trust of the fans. Like, okay, I'm going to give it a go, and hopefully this is still good, or build the trust that every album will be good, right? So.
Yeah, my brain goes to primal branding too.
Yeah, that's really
it makes me think of that quote. It's it's not just what you do. It's not just why you do what you do, but it's why you do what you do the way that you do it.
Nice.
So if it's, I got it this time.
Yeah.
Normally I stumble over that. Yeah,
Sam.
thank you guys. So we're just going to end the podcast now. But when it comes to like a news channel or something like that, and it's a trending topic, you could tune into anybody. Like, there's so much to choose from there. And I think we were talking about viewer agency at the beginning as well. Like, I think the viewer is so acclimated to YouTube at this point, they can navigate YouTube themselves and pick, how are they going to resonate with the way that this newscaster is, transmitting their data or talking about the newest thing. Primal branding can be part of that too. Like, I just like the way that this person does it, so I'm going to keep coming back to them.
I guess someone like Phil DeFranco would be the answer to my question.
Yeah,
for sure.
About trending
definitely.
topics. Yeah. Do you think perceived authority can be a weakness? It perhaps leads to complacency. We've maybe touched on this already. Like, you're stuck doing one thing because it's worked for so long, but we've already been talking about how YouTube is in a constant state of flux.
Well, it becomes a blind spot for you. Yeah, you get caught up doing the same thing. You think you know everything at that point, and that's when they fall in that trap. But I've had a couple of creators I'm working with right now, too. It's like they've been doing so well for so long, they're seeing a decline. I think they're now starting to see, okay, I need to reinvent myself. And that's been the story of everyone I think we've seen who's been doing so well for so long, is that constant reinvention of themselves, too. So it can be a blind spot. And it can be like, I don't know, say it in the nicest way, but a bit of an ego thing too sometimes. Yeah,
well, I feel like that question is why when we talk to creators and ask them, like, what are your goals? What is a win for you? And if the answer is just, I want 100K subscribers, you can get there. And if that's where it stops, that I think can be a pitfall too. Like, I really think it's important as a creator to, not that the plaque is awesome, like it's not bad at all to want that. But I think if that's it and there isn't anything past that, that's like a win for you that you're chasing, it's going to get,
it's the same as entrepreneurship too. Like, I think about companies. I watched like the movie, BlackBerry. I watched the movie on the way up from the plane, and for them, they were the authority in like smartphones at the time. And when the iPhone came out, like, they didn't want to have to change or reinvent the wheel because of like, we're the authority. People like this, like, we know people like our products. And by them failing to do that, they've now declined to the point where they don't even make that product anymore, right? Because they refuse to. And entrepreneurship is the same way. If you want to keep in that space, every company is constantly trying to reinvent the wheel and push themselves outside that boundary a bit more.
It's happened to so many spaces, right?
Yeah.
Think about, media, newspapers and magazines.
That's true.
And
Yeah, you got to push yourself.
really, kind of
Even
dwindled and gone
during
away.
COVID, people doing, making online stores for the first time, really have to like look at yourself and say, if I want to keep being relevant or follow where the world is going, I have to think about what I've done, what's been working. How can I look at what everyone else is doing? Same idea with these new educators on YouTube, what they're doing. What can I learn from that? Knowing that I have all this knowledge behind me, and take that and reinvent myself for the future.
So what do you say to a creator that's in that predicament?
Well, are you getting bored of your content? Is it getting too easy for you? Are you being challenged enough? Like, if it's getting to the point where it's down to a science, to me, that's at that point you've stopped growing. I would expect to see things slowly decline, because nothing stays that easy for that long. I would love it to, but at some point everyone gets bored.
Yeah, I would probably dip into like, what are your topic buckets? If they've been kind of on a hamster wheel, just making the same type of video over and over and over for years. And if the creator's bored of it, the viewers are probably bored of it too. So like, and it doesn't mean we have to throw that out and not make videos like that anymore, but it might actually be really refreshing to open that perspective for a creator of, I can, from a different perspective, I can still make videos for my target audience that fit my value proposition that I'm trying to give. What would it look like to just do it in a slightly different way? That can unlock a lot of kind of momentum for a creator as well.
When you do that, do you have to take a real big step back and almost completely reevaluate the essence of the channel? And I'm talking about value proposition, target audience. Are there times when you just need to wipe the slate clean and start again almost? Well, that's the wrong phrase, isn't it? Not start again, but
I feel like it's more of like a refresh.
Yeah.
Rebrand feels like too much, too deep maybe, but just
renovate. I feel like it's like
that's a
house.
good word. That's a good word.
Renovate.
Yeah. Renovate.
Yeah.
Nice.
On the YouTube customization page, there should be a renovate.
Renovate. Oh, that hit all three of us.
I was just picturing like a house. Like, I have a house after a while will start falling apart. If you don't renovate or upkeep it, like,
it's a great analogy.
That's what we need to ask Renee. It's VidSummit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where's the renovate button?
Where's the renovate button?
Yeah. Well, I think that there definitely needs to be, like, for the creator, some level of comfortability experimenting and changing. Like,
definitely,
it's going to feel weird and uncomfortable, but I think that's where, like, there needs to be some sense of,
that's where innovation comes from.
Yeah, like, there needs to be some level of longevity too, because even with people who are trying to innovate things, you can't just try it once and then give up.
And with that, being okay with something not working.
Yeah.
Because
we're giving it time to do.
Remembering what the goal is, and that doesn't mean doing it over and over and over again right in a row, because that's just not smart for a channel. But to seed a little here and there so that you can play, and stretch those muscles and get those reps in and fail forward, which is YouTube.
Yeah. For this week's power tip, I want to talk about YouTube Create, which is kind of a new up-and-coming editing software that YouTube is actually putting out for free. If you have an Android device, it's already available, and I believe it's going to be out on iOS starting in January. But basically what it is, it's an editing suite that is mobile. So it's on your phone. You can download it directly on your phone, and it's totally free. You can edit regular videos, you can edit shorts, and it's very robust from what I've seen. So some of the features that this editing suite is going to have is, again, like I've mentioned, it's totally free. So you can download it, really, really easy to go ahead and get a hold of and start editing in there. YouTube's whole music library, as far as being able to incorporate some royalty-free music options, is going to be built into it as well. So if you're adding music and you want to kind of assure yourself that it's going to be royalty-free and it won't affect your monetization or anything like that, you can go ahead and just download that straight into your video from the editing suite itself. Shorts, like I mentioned, shorts and long form, you can do horizontal or vertical formats as you're editing in YouTube Create. And another really cool thing about this is you can upload directly to YouTube once you finish your video, which is awesome. So I think what this really does is it kind of lowers the barrier to entry as far as shooting a video, editing it, and then uploading it to YouTube. They're really kind of streamlining this whole process, which is cool. The fact that it's free, I think, is pretty awesome too. For some of the options here, it's very robust. So it's only in beta right now. They're really just beginning to roll this out, and from what they've said, they're really going to continue to just make it better and better, just to make the best experience for you, the creator, as possible. Thanks for joining us for another Video Creators podcast. We'll see you next week. Bye.